Welcome to Global World Watch. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Sabah, on Borneo's northern tip, is a land of breathtaking rainforests, rare wildlife, and world-class diving spots like Sipadan Island. Beyond its natural wonders, Sabah is an economic powerhouse, rich in palm oil, timber, and oil and gas. Its diverse population, indigenous groups, Malays, Chinese, and others, reflects Malaysia's multicultural identity. But beneath this beauty lies a deep, unresolved dispute between Malaysia and the Philippines. The roots of this conflict stretch back centuries, involving sultanates, colonial powers, and international law. For Malaysia, Sabah is an integral state, its status settled by history and the will of its people. For the Philippines, it's a matter of historical right, an issue passed down from the Sultanate of Sulu, rooted in a centuries-old document, the heart of the dispute. Was Sabah leased or ceded? This question remains unanswered, fueling political tension to this day. The issue is about more than land. It's about national identity, sovereignty, and historical justice. Understanding Sabah's story means unraveling a complex knot of history, law, and politics. We'll explore both sides, examine the key documents, and see how the past still shapes the region's future. This is the story of who really owns Sabah. To understand the Sabah dispute, we must go back to the era of the Sultanate of Sulu, a maritime power whose influence spanned the Sulu Sea and parts of Borneo. In the 1600s, the Sultan of Brunei reportedly gifted North Borneo, now Sabah, to the Sultan of Sulu for helping suppress a rebellion. The Sulu Sultanate considered North Borneo its territory from then on. The story changed in the 1800s, when European colonial powers arrived. In 1878, Baron von Overbeck, representing a British company, negotiated with the Sultan of Sulu for rights over North Borneo. The resulting agreement, written in Malay with Arabic script, became the core of today's dispute. The key word, pajak. The British translated it as cession, meaning permanent transfer. The Sulu side insists it meant lease. This single word divides the Philippine and Malaysian positions. The British North Borneo Chartered Company administered the territory, developed its economy, and later transferred its rights to the British Crown in 1946. The Sulu heirs protested, arguing a lessee can't transfer ownership. Their protests were ignored, and Sabah became a British colony. This set the stage for Sabah's eventual inclusion in Malaysia. The meaning of pajak remains the central legal and historical battleground. The legacy of colonial deals and contested translations still shapes the region's politics. The seeds of today's dispute were sown in these early agreements. The Philippine claim to Sabah hinges on one argument: you can't sell what you don't own. In 1962, the Sulu heirs transferred their rights to the Philippine government, making the claim a national issue. Manila argues the 1878 agreement was a lease, not a sale, supported by the use of pajak and the annual payments made to the Sultan's heirs. If Sabah was sold, why pay rent? The Philippines sees these payments as proof of a lease, not a cession. Historical documents and British correspondence sometimes support this view, showing ambiguity about the nature of British rights. For many Filipinos, the claim is about correcting a colonial-era injustice. When Malaysia stopped payments in 2013, the Sulu heirs saw it as a breach of the original agreement. The debate over lease or cession remains the heart of the Philippine claim. Malaysia's stance is unwavering. Sabah is a sovereign state within Malaysia, its status settled by the will of its people. The foundation is the Malaysia Agreement of 1963, an international treaty that united Sabah, Sarawak, and Malaya. Malaysia argues that the people of Sabah chose to join the federation, exercising their right to self-determination. From this perspective, Any prior claims by the Sultanate of Sulu became irrelevant after decolonization. Malaysia maintains that pajak meant cession, not lease, and that annual payments were a cession fee, not rent. The British governed Sabah as their own, investing in infrastructure and administration. International law supports Malaysia's case. It has exercised continuous, effective control over Sabah for decades. The world recognizes Sabah as Malaysian territory. For Malaysia, the Philippine claim is a closed chapter. Any attempt to reopen it is seen as a threat to regional stability. The matter, in their eyes, is settled. As Malaysia's formation neared in the 1960s, tensions soared. The Philippines and Indonesia opposed the new federation, with the Philippines pressing its Sabah claim. To resolve doubts, the UN sent a mission in 1963 to assess the will of the people in Sabah and Sarawak. The mission's task: determine if the population wanted to join Malaysia, not to rule on legal claims. The UN found that a clear majority supported joining Malaysia, validating the process internationally. Malaysia saw this as proof of self-determination. The Philippines rejected the findings, arguing the mission was rushed and didn't consider all options. Despite objections, the world accepted the UN's report. On September 16, 1963, Malaysia was born, with Sabah as a state. Decades later, the Sabah dispute still simmers. In the Philippines, it's a potent nationalist issue. Politicians revive it to rally support or distract from domestic woes. Legal battles keep the issue alive, like the 2022 French arbitration ruling ordering Malaysia to pay billions to the Sulu heirs. The case turned a historical claim into a high-stakes legal fight, making global headlines. Social ties also matter. Centuries of migration and family connections link Sabah and the southern Philippines. This shared history keeps the story alive in local memory, fueling a sense of unresolved injustice. The deadlock persists. Neither side will drop its claim, and any incident can reignite tensions. As long as the 1878 agreement's meaning remains disputed, the Sabah question will haunt both nations. The past is never far from the present. In 2025, Sabah's significance goes far beyond old treaties. It's an economic powerhouse, producing palm oil, oil and gas, and drawing tourists to its natural wonders. Control over Sabah means access to immense resources and strategic maritime routes. Security is a constant concern, highlighted by the 2013 Lahad Datu incursion by armed followers of the Sulu Sultanate. Migration from the southern Philippines adds social and demographic challenges, straining Sabah's services and fueling tensions. For Malaysia, managing migration and security is a top priority. For the Philippines, the welfare of migrants in Sabah is a pressing issue. The dispute also affects ASEAN, creating friction between two key members. While managed peacefully so far, the unresolved claim remains a potential flashpoint. Stability in Sabah is vital for the wider region, which faces piracy and transnational crime. The future of Sabah is a regional concern, not just a bilateral one. Today, the Sabah dispute is fought online as much as in diplomatic circles. Social media platforms amplify misinformation, turning complex history into emotional slogans. On the Philippine side, posts romanticize the Sultanate and demand Sabah's return, often distorting facts. On the Malaysian side, online discussions are defensive, viewing the claim as a threat to sovereignty. Digital echo chambers harden public opinion, making compromise harder. This online nationalism deepens divides, turning a diplomatic issue into daily arguments. The result: growing mistrust and animosity between ordinary citizens. Media literacy is crucial. Without it, social media can turn history into a battleground of us versus them. The Sabah dispute is complex, with both sides rooted in history, law, and national identity. The Philippines sees a historical lease. Malaysia sees self-determination and international law. Neither side will abandon its position soon, but confrontation would be disastrous. The 2013 Lahad Datu incident proved how quickly history can turn violent. Instead, both nations can focus on cooperation, trade, security, and people-to-people ties. Understanding each other's perspectives is key to lowering tensions. The goal: manage the dispute peacefully, so it doesn't define the relationship. The path forward is not about winning the past, but building a stable, prosperous future together.